Show. Um, First, I want to get to this story. I posted an article about this on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. Deals with an African American realtor in Wyoming, Michigan. Wyoming, Michigan is just outside of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Um, an African American realtor named Eric Brown, back on August 1st, 2021, was showing a house to a client and the client's son. And a neighbor who was asked by the owner of the house to watch the house, a neighbor calls the police and says that the person who was arrested for being unlawfully in the house previously, a few days before, that person is back, and there are two other people with them. So these three African American men get arrested. Well, they get handcuffed. They get detained by the police. Police realize that it's a false alarm. This is an African American realtor who's showing the house to a client, and they're released. But they think that it's racial profiling. They think it's racial profiling. The Wyoming Police Department released a statement saying that they did an investigation, and all the procedures were carried out correctly. All the procedures were followed correctly. So Eric Brown and the father, Roy Thorne, they were interviewed on Don Lemon's show on CNN. So we're going to share that interview with you. Very, very interesting case. Now, something tells me if they had been white, this would not have happened. Something tells me if they had been white men, that the police would not have been called. But it's a crazy case, and a lot of news outlets are reporting on this. It started out as a local story and it's gone national. So we're gonna talk about that on today's show. The Roy Thorne's 15-year-old teenage son was with them also. So the father was definitely concerned about his son and the police being involved. So I wonder if the neighbor realizes that they made a mistake. I wonder if the neighbor has found that out yet, that they made a mistake. And this could have been a very, very drastic outcome to the situation also. All right, so we'll discuss that story. And then we know that hospitals are being overwhelmed by COVID-19 cases, and they're rising in every state. And we see the U.S. is averaging more than 100,000 new COVID-19 cases a day. The U.S. is averaging more than 100,000 new COVID-19 cases a day, fueled by the Delta variant. And hospitalizations have now risen to the highest level since February 2021. Florida and Texas make up 1/3 of all new cases. Just two states, Florida and Texas, make up 1/3 of all new cases nationwide. Now you have schools in the South that some of them go back to school this week. Some I think started today, some start on Tuesday. And you have Governor Ron DeSantis, who has signed an executive order banning mask mandates in schools. And somehow that tells me, somehow I think this is going to backfire on Governor Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. You have parents trying to protect their children, and children 12 and under are not authorized for coronavirus vaccines. And you're banning mask mandates in schools, even elementary school. The governor, You're banning mask mandates. But it gets even worse. Governor Ron DeSantis is threatening to withhold salaries of education officials as counties find as counties find ways to work around these masks, this ban on masks. He's the governor of Florida, who's up for re-election in 2022, by the way. He's threatening to withhold salaries of education officials who are trying to protect the children. He's Governor Ron DeSantis is a Republican, idiot, Trump supporter, Trump disciple, and he's going to I mean, people keep following him. He's going to get a lot of people killed. That's what's going to happen. I mean, I'm just telling you. This is what's going to happen. Florida and Texas make up 1/3 of all new coronavirus cases nationwide. It's 100,000 new cases each day. 33,000 are coming out of Florida and Texas. And then you have Governor Greg Abbott, another idiot, governor of Texas. This is going to be an interesting school year. So we'll talk about that. And then there's a story out of Missouri. We ran out of time on yesterday's show. Didn't get a chance to deal with this. You remember the McCloskey family? You know, your nice neighbors next door, the McCloskeys, Mark and Patricia McCloskey, just your everyday, everyday all-American gun owners. And Black Lives Matter protesters came protesting through the neighborhood. They weren't trying to overthrow the neighborhood like the insurrectionists were on January 6th. They weren't destroying property like the insurrectionists were on January 6th. They're going through the neighborhood and they're chanting, Black Lives Matter, what have you. So the McCloskeys come out with their guns. I guess they think they're going to Black Lives Matter you to death or something. Or, the McCloskeys come out with their guns. And then they got arrested and prosecuted. I think it was brandishing weapons or something like that. Well, the governor of Missouri gave them a pardon. But there's a case of an African-American man in Missouri. His name is Kevin Strickland. And Kevin Strickland's case, he's in prison. His case has been taken up by the Midwest Innocence Project. It appears Kevin Strickland, he's been in prison for years. He's been incarcerated for over 40 years. He remains in prison. He's in desperate need of a pardon. He's bound to a wheelchair. He's in desperate need of a pardon. But the governor gives a pardon to these geniuses and not to Kevin Strickland. This is Missouri. Even though Missouri is not a former Confederate state, sometimes they do act like it. So we'll discuss that. We'll discuss that story also. Missouri Governor pardons Mark and Patricia McCloskey, who pointed guns at Black Lives Matter protesters, but won't give a pardon to an African-American man in a wheelchair who's been in prison for over 40 years and appears he's innocent. So we'll discuss that and more on today's show. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now, it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events and history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Sign up for our email newsletter there as well. All right. You can still register for the 10-week online course that I teach on Saturdays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. This meets on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do the classes live. All the sessions are recorded. They're archived. You can go back and watch them repeatedly. You still have access to the course even after the 10-week course is over with. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and you can register right there for the online course. All right. I want to jump into this first topic here before we come up on a break. So I was reading some different articles about this, and there's one from, this deals with the African-American realtor, Eric Brown. One of the most recent ones is from CNN.com. All the outlets have articles on this now. This is an incident that took place on August 1st, 2021. A black realtor was showing a home to a black father and son. They were handcuffed by Michigan police. Now, this wasn't Detroit police, so don't put that on Detroit. This was Wyoming, Michigan. Okay. This was Wyoming, Michigan, which is outside of Grand Rapids. So a black realtor was showing a house to an African-American father and son. The son is 15 years old, in a Michigan suburb last week, took place August 1st, when they looked outside and saw police officers surrounding the property with their guns drawn. Roy Thorne, the father, told Don Lemon on Friday, August 6th on CNN, he said, "I knew once they surrounded the home, they were preparing for a standoff." He said, "And so my instincts told me we need to get out of here. We need to get to where they can see that we're not a threat." We're going to deal with this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, WFDF. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by. Stand by. All right, everybody, stand by. Everybody, share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. Stand by, everybody. Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. How's everybody doing today? Okay, stand by. If you'd like the same type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App. $ the AHN show through Cash App. Also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Back from break in 3 minutes. Stand by. All right, stand by. All right, back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 1 minute. Or y'all can share this broadcast on your social media platforms also. Stand by. Coming back from break.
910 AM Superstation. 910, the Superstation. Detroit's only African-American talk radio.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Monday, August 9th, 2021, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a quick question or comment. Okay, so right before the break, we were talking about this story out of Wyoming, Michigan, and I don't even go to Wyoming, Michigan. It's outside of Grand Rapids. This deals with an African-American realtor, real estate agent named Eric Brown, who on August 1st, 2021 was showing a house to Roy Thorne, who's an African-American father, and Roy Thorne's 15-year-old son. And a call was placed to 911 by a neighbor. And the neighbor thought they were breaking in the house. Now, a little background information here, then we'll go to the clip here from CNN. Little background information on this story. So a neighbor called the county dispatch on the afternoon of August 1st, reporting that a person was arrested at the home on July 24th, 2021, and had come back in the same car. Okay, the neighbor said that the person came back in the same car, according to a timeline released by the Wyoming Department of Public Safety. Now, did they have the same license plate as back on July 3rd, on July 24th? Was it the same license plate, or was it just the same make and model of car in the same color? Was it the same license plate? Apparently not. Now, in audio of the call released by Wyoming police, the caller is heard telling dispatch that a, quote, young black man, end quote, had been arrested the week prior for squatting in the house and that his car had been towed. Now, the Wyoming police, their statement said the individual was arrested for unlawful entry and not squatting. Now, police said it was a different caller from the initial incident, but, quote, the caller was aware of the previous arrest and had seen the arrested individual and his vehicle, end quote. Now, the homeowner had asked the caller, who's apparently a neighbor, had asked the caller to watch the house, police said. I want to go to this interview here from August 8th. Clip number 1.
For sale and being met by police with guns drawn. It happened on Sunday in Michigan to a black realtor and his black client, and the client's 15-year-old son, who's seen here on police body cam video being put into handcuffs. All three were cuffed. Now, they say if they were white, it wouldn't have happened. Police say a white neighbor called 911 reporting a break-in after seeing the three men at the vacant home. This is dash cam video. It shows one of them leaving the house with his hands up. It turns out a different man was arrested at the home a week earlier for unlawful entry. Wyoming, Michigan police are saying tonight in a statement, after a thorough internal review of the actions of each of our public safety officers who responded to this incident, we have concluded race played no role in our officers' treatment of the individuals who were briefly detained, and our officers responded appropriately. While it is unfortunate that innocent individuals were placed in handcuffs, our officers responded reasonably and according to department policy based on the information available to them at the time. Well, let's talk about this. Joining me now with their perspective, the prospective home buyer, Roy Thorne, his son Samuel, Eric Brown, the realtor showing the home. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate you joining. I'm sorry this happened to you. Let's discuss. Eric, you heard what the police said. What did this feel like for you? Did it feel like profiling, racial profiling?
It did. Honestly, it did. In that moment, it certainly felt that way. It's difficult to justify that type of what I felt a tactical type response. There was a strategy there, and they were surrounding the home without our knowledge, and we weren't made aware of their presence. So yeah, for sure, it felt. I don't feel like a home that had been on the market for this length of time, with the number of showings, given the climate and activity in our market, that no one else had that type of or level of force or response.
Yeah. Look, Roy, I'm glad you're here and you're healthy now, but you had to be worried that, it wouldn't be the case while this was all happening.
Yeah. I was worried. I was very worried initially when it all started. Not knowing that the officers were out there until I saw. So I saw two officers outside the window on the side of the home after Sandy told me that there were cops outside. He was downstairs and he came upstairs where Eric and I were. And once I saw the two officers with their guns drawn, and I saw them doing hand signals, signaling each other to surround the house, and I noticed that, and one officer was heading to the back, and that's when I really got paranoid because I knew once they surrounded the home, they were just preparing for a standoff. And so my instincts told me we need to get out of here. We need to get to where they can see that we're not a threat. And but I can't say that my adrenaline wasn't pumping. I was worried, but I was just more concerned about getting my son out of that situation and getting us all out of there. So, yeah, I was scared.
I'm just wondering, what were the handcuffs? All you guys walked out, you complied. I'm just wondering, was there a need for handcuffs? But, anyway, listen, Samuel, I'm so sorry this happened to you. People, just so people know, you were only 15 years old, and I imagine that this was extremely frightening for you. What were your feelings after seeing all of this, after all of this happening to you?
Well, in the beginning, when we were upstairs, is when most of the, I would say, like, shock and initial fear kind of happened. Because it went from, there's cops outside who come outside with their hands up. So that was kind of like from just 0 to 100. So that's pretty much what I felt, was just like confusion and shock and fear for the most part. Because I had no idea why they were all down there at that time.
Yeah, well, I understand you made sure that you put Samuel behind you, so just in case something happened, that it would happen to you instead of him. What do you want to say to the neighbor who called the police?
That's why the response here.
Well, to that particular neighbor and any potential neighbor, my message would be, we're just like you. We occupy the same space. We do the same things. We go to the same places. If you see a crime, what a crime. But if you see people, black people, any minority, don't report people doing normal things. You do that, you don't realize that you can change their life or have their life taken. Just you making a phone call. In this instance, it could have been 3. It could have been 2 or 1. Somebody hurt. So that's my message. Report a crime. Don't report everyday activity. That changed my life. Changed my son's life.
Yeah.
Yes.
You may not have been sitting here. Eric, the Wyoming police say that they have reached out to you and they want to meet with all 3 of you to discuss what happened. Has that been set up yet? Are you open to it?
It hasn't been set up yet, and I am definitely open to it. And I have had that conversation with Chief Coster. We haven't arranged it and set it up yet, and we need to arrange that with some counsel present, our counsel present. And when Sammy is ready to enter that environment, because I think it's critical that he's there as well. Clearly, we want some reform and some change here. There are things that have gone wrong. I'm sure you guys have seen or listened to the recordings, the 911 call, the dispatch, and the lapse in communication, or what was lost in translation before those officers arrived there. Yeah, those are the types of things that need to change.
All right. So that is from CNN. That's from Friday, August 6th. Don Lemon's show on CNN. So a couple things here. First of all, the real estate agent, his name is Eric Brown. Eric Brown said in the interview that there have been a number of showings at that house, home showings, real estate agents there showing the home to people. There have been a number of showings. Nobody else has been arrested. Looking at the video, it appears that, and this is some imagery from that interview, it appears there are 2 signs on the lawn of the home. I have not been able to zoom in on them, but they could very well be for sale signs. It could very well be for sale signs. There are 2 signs on the lawn. One close to the actual house, and then one further closer to the sidewalk. So, yeah, you had somebody who was arrested there July 24th. I just find this whole thing interesting. Okay, so you said, so if we go back to the article from CNN, and then we're going to look at a statement from the police. We'll look at this article from the local affiliate WOOD TV channel 8 there in the Wyoming area. But if we look at this here, okay, footage released by police shows how incident unfolded. So a neighbor called the county dispatch on the afternoon of August 1st, 2021, reporting that a person who was arrested at the home on July 24th had come back in the same car. Okay, how do you know it's the same car? How'd you know it's the same car? Now, this is, I mean, you know, I hate to use the cliche, all black people look alike, but this seems like a good example of this. All right. So how'd you know it's the same car? Did you write down the license plate number? Obviously, it was not the same car. In audio of the call released by Wyoming, Michigan police, the caller is heard telling dispatch that a young black man had been arrested the week before for squatting in the house and that his car had been towed. The police, in their statement, said the individual was arrested for unlawful entry and not squatting. So the police chief Kimberly Koster, Koster, has reached out to Eric Brown, the real estate agent, and offered to meet with the 3 of them to talk about the incident. Wyoming police said. Eric Brown told CNN at the time, a time has not been decided, but they want to have that conversation with the chief with their own counsel present. Okay. So the other thing, let's look at I want to flip over to this other article here and look at this police statement here. This is from WOOD Channel 8 in Wyoming, Michigan. They have a statement from the police. Okay, so full statement from Wyoming Police Department. It says on August 1st, our officers responded to a 911 call from a neighbor reporting that a house was being broken into. Now, I'm just curious, how many white people did you call the police on? Because there's been a number of showings at that house. So I'm just curious, how many white people did you call the police on? I just want to know. Officers were aware that a previous burglary had occurred at this same address on July 24th, and that a suspect was arrested and charged for unlawful entry during that incident. The caller indicated that the previously arrested suspect had returned and again entered the house, which now is okay. If you okay, let's just think about this for a minute. All right, now if you quote unquote broke into the house before and were arrested, I don't have a background of breaking into houses, but I think if I did, I wouldn't break into a house the second time of one I was arrested breaking into the week before. I mean, I don't have a history in breaking into houses, but if I did, I don't think I think I would pick another house. But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe this is a dumb criminal. I don't know. But the caller indicated that the previously arrested suspect had returned and again entered the house. When the officers arrived, there were people inside of the residence in question. Officers asked the individuals to come out of the house and placed them in handcuffs per department protocol. After listening to the individual's explanation for why they were in the house, officers immediately removed the handcuffs. The Wyoming Department of Public Safety takes emergency calls such as this seriously, and officers rely on their training and department policy in their response. And this is a statement from Captain Timothy Poles, P-O-L-S. All right. Let's see here. I just wonder if anybody talked to the neighbor. Anybody talked to the neighbor that made this call? That's what I want to know. Read this full article here, and they have the interview that WOOD did with the Realtor father and son. It threw me back. Realtor client handcuffed at Wyoming home after 911 call. So check that out. Okay, so file that under selling while black. Selling while black. Okay, so we have that story. Then coronavirus is surging out of control, especially in these former Confederate states where you have idiotic governors and people that don't want to pay attention to science. So hospitals are overwhelmed. We're going to go to clip 2 from NBC Nightly News. Hospitals are overwhelmed as COVID cases rise in every state. Let's go to clip 2, Shakita.
The variant wreaks havoc nationwide. COVID cases now rising in every state, pushing many hospitals into crisis mode.
We're in an emergency situation here, no doubt about it.
The virus causing the highest number of U.S. cases since February. Hitting the South, where vaccination rates remain low, especially hard. In Austin, Texas, home to nearly 1 million people, only 6 ICU beds remain open. Residents getting this robocall over the weekend.
COVID-19 situation in Austin is dire. Healthcare facilities are open, but resources are limited due to a surge in cases.
The county's top doctor calling it an hour-by-hour situation. Cases are rising so sharply, you could potentially send patients out of state.
It's a possibility.
The surge now forcing worst-case scenarios, like COVID overflow tents in Houston and pediatric units full. As Stephanie Lopez watched crews fly her 11-month-old daughter Ava to a hospital nearly 150 miles away.
It was a very, very overwhelming, heartbreaking experience.
Many states, including New Jersey and Arizona, haven't reissued mask mandates, while in Arkansas, the governor, amid a surge in cases, regretting a prior ban.
It was an error to sign that law. I admit that.
Tonight, experts warn the type of mask matters.
The virus is being spread through aerosols and not droplets. Wearing a higher quality mask becomes more important.
Dr. Gottlieb says N95 masks are safest, warning cloth masks provide just 20% protection, a procedure mask offering 40%.
Most people don't wear those masks well, don't fit them well, so they're not getting that measure of protection.
For now, the push to vaccinate. The Pentagon announcing mandatory inoculations for nearly 2 million service members by mid-September. Tonight, with COVID numbers nearing critical mass.
It's like we aren't making any difference, even though we're trying.
Doctors and medical workers already fighting burnout, now digging in for yet another surge. Morgan Chesky, NBC News, Austin.
All right, so that's from NBC Nightly News. That is from Monday, August 9th. You have this. Well, let me. We'll go to Florida in just a second here. You have this article here from the Associated Press. So the U.S. is averaging 100,000 new cases a day. Now, with the U.S. averaging more than 100,000 new COVID-19 cases a day, fueled by the Delta variant, hospitalizations have now risen to the highest level since February 2021. So the vast majority of new hospitalizations are among unvaccinated people, public health officials have said. The biggest hospital surges are being seen in southern states with some of the lowest vaccination rates in the nation, such as Arkansas, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Missouri. Now, Florida and Texas are the two states that account for 1/3 of the nation's new cases. So Florida and Texas account for about 33,000 new cases a day. About 33,000 new cases a day. And Florida and Texas are also seeing hospitals pushed to the brink. If we look at this article here quickly from Associated Press, it took the U.S. 9 months to cross 100,000 average daily new cases in November 2020. It took 9 months to do that. At about 250,000 in early January. Now, cases bottom out in June of 2021, averaging out about 11,000 per day. But 6 weeks later, the number is 107,143. Hospitalizations and deaths are also increasing, though all are still below peaks seen earlier this year before vaccines were widely available. More than 44,000 Americans are currently hospitalized with COVID-19. More than 44,000 Americans are currently hospitalized with COVID-19, according to the CDC, up 30% in 1 week. There's been a 30% increase in hospitalizations because of COVID-19 in 1 week, and nearly 4 times the number that were hospitalized in June. More than 120,000 were hospitalized in January. So read this full article here. This is from August 7th, 2021. U.S. averaging 100,000 new COVID-19 infections a day from Associated Press. Okay, now if we look at Florida, where you have idiotic Governor Ron DeSantis, and students are about to go back to school in Florida also. Oh, it's going to be crazy in Florida. So Florida and Texas make up 1/3 of the new cases, daily new cases. In Austin, Texas, state data shows only 6 ICU beds are left in the region. A baby girl with COVID-19 in Houston, Texas, had to be airlifted more than 150 miles because of a bed shortage. COVID-19 infection rates and hospitalizations have dramatically risen among children, just as many are going back to school. The current COVID vaccines have not been authorized for children under 12, as we talked about. Now, in Florida, many counties will begin their new school year on Tuesday, August 10th. Tuesday, August 10th. After the state set records for new COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations over the weekend. Now, if we look at this article here, Florida grapples with record COVID surge as school year set to start for some. And then there's an article from Politico that talks about the Governor DeSantis withholding pay from administrators who try to work around these mask mandates. Governor Ron DeSantis is facing legal challenges over his executive order threatening to withhold funds for schools that have mask requirements for students, because he doesn't want mask requirements. I don't know if he's stuck on stupid or what. I mean, he does not want mask requirements. Children under 12 can't get vaccinated. What the hell you think is gonna happen? I mean, I don't know if Boo Boo the Fool had children, but if he did, I'm pretty sure that Ron DeSantis would be one of those children from Boo Boo the Fool's first wife. The governor was also dealt a blow over a law banning companies from requiring proof of COVID-19 vaccinations. Now, as the school year starts this week in Florida for some districts and later this month for others, one lawsuit represents concerned parents of students in schools across the state of Florida. Attorney Charles Gallagher told NBC News. The parents involved in the lawsuit filed Friday are concerned that the governor's executive order has framed mask requirements, quote, as a parent's choice issue when it's clearly a public health issue. Because see, now these children can take coronavirus back home and kill their parents or kill their grandparents. The families have students who are too young to get vaccinated, have medical conditions like asthma, bronchitis, diabetes, or face other issues that put them at risk or will make them suffer if they are denied the right to a safe school environment, he said, a right guaranteed in the Florida Constitution. In a separate lawsuit filed on Friday, August 6th, a congressional candidate from South Florida and father of 3 school-aged children also sued over barring schools from requiring students from wearing masks. Barring schools from requiring students from wearing masks. Governor Ron DeSantis is holding firm on the ban with his office on Monday, August 9th, announcing that the Florida Board of Education could withhold the salaries of superintendents and school board members who don't comply with the ban on mask mandates. What do you think is going to happen when these parents' children start having to be hospitalized? But now we already see a huge surge in children being hospitalized in the first place. It's about to explode in Florida. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen when white parents' children have to be hospitalized? See, this is an example of how elections have consequences. This is what happens when you have an idiot as governor. And I heard African Americans back during the 2018 gubernatorial race in Florida said they said they weren't voting for Andrew Gillum because Andrew Gillum didn't have a black agenda. But your dumb ass let somebody get in office who has an anti-black agenda. You let a white supremacist like Ron DeSantis get in office who has an anti-black agenda. Okay. All right, so read that article for NBC News. Then also there's one from Politico that deals with Ron DeSantis, who doesn't follow science, big Trump supporter, is rumored he's going to run for president in 2024. Read this article here from Politico. DeSantis threatens to withhold salaries of education officials. DeSantis threatens to withhold salaries of education officials as counties find mask workarounds. So he doesn't want to protect the children. See, governor, when you have somebody that's a governor, that's a very powerful position, because your life is greatly impacted by the executive orders that governors can sign, laws governors sign in the law, bills governors sign in the law, and you're dealing with judgment. You need somebody who has good judgment. You need somebody who's going to listen to the science, who's going to follow the science. The other thing that governors can do is give pardons. That takes us to our next story. We're going to go to clip 3 quickly here, Shakita. This is from the Readout with Joanne Reed, and this deals with that lovely couple, the McCloskey couple that pulled the guns on the Black Lives Matter activists. Let's go to clip 3.
Family, I want to introduce you to Missouri Governor Mike Parson. He's a mostly forgettable and mediocre Republican governor who originally lucked into his job after the former guy quit amid sexual misconduct allegations. Parson, a Trump lackey and COVID enabler, currently has tremendous power to pardon whoever he wants. According to the Kansas City Star, he's been issuing pardons on a roughly monthly basis since December to clear a backlog of about 3,000 cases that had accumulated from previous administrations. Now, let me introduce you to Kevin Strickland, a 62-year-old man who has spent the majority of his life, 40 years, behind bars for a crime he did not commit. His conviction was built on the testimony of the one witness who later recanted. The 2 other men who pleaded guilty in the murders have said Strickland was not involved. They even named an alternative suspect. After reviewing the case, the Jackson County prosecutor publicly declared that Strickland was factually innocent and added, quote, Kevin Strickland deserves to be exonerated. Now, most of you at home think that I'm about to tell you that Governor Parson pardoned Kevin Strickland. Nope. Why? Parson told reporters that Strickland's circumstances didn't necessarily make it a priority to jump in front of the line. You know who did jump in front of the line? These 2 numbnuts, Mark and Patricia McCloskey. They got a VIP pardon from Parson earlier this week. These barefoot, fragile snowflakes pleaded guilty for waving weapons at peaceful protesters who dared walk past their ugly-ass house on their way to demonstrate after George Floyd's murder. I guess that was too much of an injustice for Governor Parson's stomach. It's a travesty. Meanwhile, an innocent Black man remains locked up. I'm joined now by Tricia Rojo Bushnell, Executive Director of the Midwest Innocence Project, which is handling Mr. Strickland's case with international law firm Brian Cave Leighton Paisner. Thank you so much for being here. And let me just go through the facts of the case, if you could. Just walk us through why Mr. Strickland is in prison.
Hey, pause it right there, Shakita. Pause it right there because we're out of time here. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. We'll go for a few more minutes. We'll play the rest of that clip. We'll play this again on tomorrow's show. Very quickly before we get out of here, 9:10 a.m. Superstation has a Godfather's package for advertising. 9:10 a.m. Superstation has the greatest advertising deal ever with their Godfather package. 200 spots for $500 with a must air within 30-day policy. The commercials must air within 30 days. That's only $2.50 per spot, and they will even produce the spots for free. That's right, for free. Give Renisha Williams a call at 313-434-8291. Call her right now, 313-434-8291. Tell her Michael Imhotep told you to call. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. Right now, let's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. All right. Stand by, everybody. Let me cue this clip up. you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show. We're here 6 days a week. This helps us keep doing the research and stay on the air and keep broadcasting. Okay, just a second here. Stand by. Let me cue this up. And then who still needs to register for the new 10-week online course that I teach on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. We'll post that link also, and that's at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right. Okay, let's go back to this clip here. Just a second here.
For Governor Parsons' stomach. The travesty. Meanwhile, an innocent black man remains locked up. I'm joined now by Tricia Rojo Bushnell, Executive Director of the Midwest Innocence Project, which is handling Mr. Strickland's case with international law firm Bryan Cave Leighton Paisner. Thank you so much for being here. And let me just go through the facts of the case, if you could. Just walk us through why Mr. Strickland is in prison.
Yeah, so this case goes all the way back to 1978. This is a really horrific, gruesome crime. 4 individuals go into a home where there are 4 people. They shoot them all. 3 of them die, and 1 of them survives. That woman, the victim, Cynthia Douglas, leaves, and calls police immediately the names of 2 of the individuals that she knew and had known from before, and describes the other people and says, she doesn't know who they are. A few days later, some time passes, and she hears from her sister's boyfriend that maybe Kevin Strickland could match one of the descriptions that she had given. She knew Kevin Strickland and didn't name him immediately after that crime, but sort of the way what we know how memory works, at that point it was contaminated and it just sort of was off to the races from. So she later identifies him, but that's really the evidence that they have and that they use against him. Fast forward just 4 months after Kevin's convicted at a trial, his co-defendant, Vincent Bell, who is one of the people the victim names as being one of the true perpetrators, has his plea hearing. And at his plea hearing, he's required to give in detail what happened at the crime. And he does. He says exactly what happens and names all 4 individuals who came in and committed the crime with him, including 2 people who had been previously unknown, and says Kevin Strickland is innocent. And so that's all back in 1979. It's been solved since 1979, and no one has done anything. In 2009, the victim, was trying to reach out to recant her identification. She even reached out to our office, which only had 1 person in the office at the time. And unfortunately, she's since passed away. But as you've seen, the prosecutors have looked at it. Everyone has looked at it as a solved crime. We know who committed this crime and that Kevin Strickland is innocent.
And the governor claims that he doesn't believe he's innocent, says he doesn't know if he's innocent. And he says he doesn't know. But the prosecutor, to be clear, the prosecutor says he's innocent, right?
That's right. So not only did the prosecutor's office do a review, the prosecutor also asked for an independent review from the U.S. Attorney's Office of the Western District, also took the case to the Kansas City Board of Police Commissioners, who said that they wouldn't interfere with anything that was released. So, a number of different agencies have looked at this, and all of them agree that Kevin Strickland is innocent.
What happens now? Is there a chance, now that he's been denied a pardon, is there any chance that he can still be released?
Well, at any time, the governor could still pardon him, and we hope that he will. That is surely the fastest way, and that he wouldn't have to spend another day in prison. But currently, we have also filed what's called a petition for habeas corpus, which is saying he's being held unconstitutionally, and will you please release him? We have a hearing scheduled on that in November. It's complicated because also in Missouri, we don't know if innocence is a claim to get out of prison in Missouri unless you were sentenced to death. And Mr. Strickland wasn't sentenced to death. It's a crazy thing to say out loud, but that is our current state of the law in Missouri. But in this interim time, because another person in Missouri is also wrongfully convicted, and the prosecutor also agrees that he's wrongfully convicted, when that case with Lamar Johnson went all the way up and came back down after the Missouri Supreme Court at that time said prosecutors didn't have an ability to correct an injustice, the legislator passed a new law. And that law goes into effect at the end of this month on August 28th. And once it goes into effect, a prosecutor will have the ability to file a motion to vacate the judgment and overturn the conviction. And so there is that possibility for Mr. Strickland here, which we, hope and anticipate the prosecutor would do, knowing that Mr. Strickland is innocent.
We will keep an eye on this case, but we are out of time. But can you just tell us how he is doing? How is he holding up under this very quickly?
He is doing, remarkably well. And I think it actually means so much to him that the world has seen and known and acknowledged that he's innocent. And he's been saying this for 43 years and no one believed him until now. And so it's a really powerful moment.
Absolutely. Well, this audience believes him and are going to want to know how he fares. So we will keep up with you. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this evening. And please give him our regards. And we are praying for him. Okay.
That's the readout. Joanne Reed, MSNBC. Excellent segment there. That is from Friday, August 6th, 2021. Black man remains imprisoned after prosecutors say he's innocent, but Missouri governor pardons gun-toting couple. He pardoned these geniuses right here. I'm not sure if it's because they were white, but I don't think them being white hurt. I'm not sure if he pardoned them because they're white, but I don't think them being white hurt their case at all. So read this article here from the Washington Post. This is an example why you have to have competent governors and why it's important to vote for governors. Okay. And vote idiots like Governor Mike Parsons and idiots like Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida and Governor Greg Abbott of Texas out of office because they're dangerous. A St. Louis couple who gained national notoriety for brandishing guns at peaceful Black Lives Matter protests last year. Don't forget, these were Black Lives Matter protesters. These weren't tiki torch carrying protesters. These weren't insurrectionists they pointed guns at. These were peaceful protesters. And they pleaded guilty to firearms charges. They have been pardoned by Republican Governor Mike Parson. Now, Missouri governor. Now, sticking to a promise he made before the pair pleaded guilty, the Republican governor announced Tuesday that Mark and Patricia McCloskey were among 12 people granted pardons on Friday. And this article is from August 3rd. Okay. On Friday in June, Mark McCloskey pleaded guilty to misdemeanor 4th degree assault and was fined $750. So he's actually guilty. Kevin Strickland appears to be innocent, but this McCloskey pleaded guilty because he is guilty. And Patricia McCloskey pleaded guilty to misdemeanor harassment and was fined $2,000. Both agreed to give up the guns they had brandished in the confrontation. On June 28, 2020, video and photographs showed rifle wielding Mark McCloskey, and the couple did get invited to their Klan convention they had last year. Well, it was the GOP National Convention. It looked like a Klan convention. They got invited there and they spoke there also. They're heroes of the White Nationalist Party. On June 28, 2020, video and photographs showed rifle-wielding Mark McCloskey and pistol-toting Patricia McCloskey in front of their mansion as protesters marched through their gated community to the home of Mayor Lyda Crewson, who's a Democrat, the mayor. She was the mayor. Now she got voted out of office. Tashara Jones is now the mayor. Amid nationwide protests after a police officer killed George Floyd in Minneapolis. Okay, Derek Chauvin. So the images garnered national attention, prompting the traitor-in-chief Benedict Donald to speak out in defense of the couple. He would. Trump and other Republicans considered the McCloskeys law-abiding homeowners defending their property. Others saw the couple defending the property against what? The property wasn't, there was no threat on your property. Others saw the couple as overly aggressive toward demonstrators. Would they have taken the same action if these were white demonstrators? Because Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin said he didn't fear the insurrectionists on January 6th. He said if they had been Black Lives Matter activists, he'd have been a little afraid. But he saw them as law-abiding citizens just trying to, you know, voice their opinions or whatever. He didn't fear them. Maybe it was maybe because the majority of them were white. Because he said if it had been Black Lives Matter activists, he would have been a little scared. Okay. Now, Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin has not said whether he's running for re-election again in 2022. If he does, he needs to be voted out of office. He's one of the dumbest senators, and he spreads a lot of conspiracy theories as well. Okay. And he's one of the dumbest senators in the Senate also. Now, others saw the couple as overly aggressive toward demonstrators. Now, the couple, both personal injury attorneys in their 60s, faced felony firearms charges after the display in front of their marble faced Palazzo home, but ultimately pleaded guilty to lesser charges. All right. So read the rest of this article about that, about the McCloskeys. They got a pardon. Kevin Strickland didn't. And also, I'm hearing that Mark McCloskey is going to run for senator there in Missouri as well. So that's somebody else you need to make sure you vote against and make sure he doesn't get in any type of political office. Taxpayers should not be paying his salary at all. He should not be in position to pass any laws that impact, that govern, especially African Americans. All right. Okay. You can register for the online courses I teach. We have the new one on Saturday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. So each class will go through, we go through and analyze a approximately 10-year period of history. We start in the Civil War era and in 1865, and do a little recap of history leading up to the Civil War. And then we go through Reconstruction, 1865 to 1877. We go through the Jim Crow era and World War I, World War II, Great Migration, Civil Rights era, Black Power era as well. So this is on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Click on register here. It takes you to the next page. As soon as you register, you can start watching the archive content. We do the classes live. All the sessions are recorded. And you can go back and watch them repeatedly, and you still have access to the course even after the course is over with. Okay, on the next page, just click on enroll, and as soon as you register, you can start watching the content. So the class is on sale, $80, and you can join us in class. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles, video clips, etc. And then the other online course I teach is another 10-week online course. This was on Sundays, meets 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, one of the original names for Egypt, the Moors, and the Maafa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. So I deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Okay. And that's a fantastic class. Also, as soon as you register, you can, there's archive content you can watch. You can watch the class we just did this past weekend. You can watch that. And click on register here, and then takes you to the next page. Just click on enroll. Yep, click on enroll on the next page, and we have bonus content you can watch. Also, we have archived when the previous class that I taught, Dr. David Imhotep, author of the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence, spoke to our class also. So that's archived. And then, Sister Nubia Wartford, who's an African-American female archaeologist, she spoke to our class also. And she dealt with the origins of ancient Kush and the African queens of antiquity. And this is the Dr. David Imhotep's first book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. His new book is out, and we have to get him back on the show to talk about his new book, The First Americans Were Africans Revisited. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you.